Good evening and welcome to your evening news bulletin with Television Tonga News. Making headlines, baptism of the firstborn child of Crown Prince Tupotoa Ukalala and Princess Sinai Takala conducted yesterday. The Hatafu district is asking to allow them to register to be part of the tour sites for tourists. And Supreme Court ordered the criminal records of deportees to be brought from the United States of America. These and more stories together with news from around region, sports, world news and the weather forecast follow later on in this bulletin. I'm Kalolaine Tonglava with the news for tonight. The baptism of Prince Taufa Ahauman Mataongo was held yesterday at the Centenary Church. Prince Taufa Ahauman Mataongo is the firstborn child of the Crown Prince Tupotoa Ukalala and Crown Princess Sinai Takala. Fadai with the details.
Members of the Free Wesleyan Church and guests have yesterday joined Their Majesties King Tebow VI and Queen Anaspa'u, the Queen Mother Halaiwal Mata'aho and members of the royal family in witnessing the royal baptism of Prince Taufa Ahauman Mataongo in Nokalofa at the Centenary Church. The royal ritual was led by the Royal Chaplain and President of the Free Wesleyan Church of Tonga, Reverend Dr. Ahio. Prince Taufa Ahauman Mataongo, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We now welcome him to the Church of Christ and teach him the Christian life and belief. The Royal Chaplain and Presidents of the Church also pass on to the Prince's mother, the people, and the Church's wishes and vision in regards to the future of the Prince. Take and keep him for God's will to his role to the people of his nation in the future. Also attended yesterday's program were Princess Bilolev Tuita, Princess Iulikta Pukalaniwal Fotofili, Princess Ofeina Elang Fafanua, His Serene Highness Prince Tungi, members of the royal family, the Honourable Prime Minister, nobles of the realm, church leaders and other guests. The ceremony was followed by a royal luncheon. Prince Taufa Ahauman Mataongo was born this year on May 10th at the Auckland Hospital in New Zealand.
The Honourable Prime Minister Lord Ivano, in a statement from the Prime Minister's office, states that aviation safety in the kingdom is Tonga's priority. This was during concerns raised by foreign media and locals in regards to the new MA-60 aircraft gifted from China to Tonga. We'll join Fadai again with the details.
The Honourable Prime Minister stated that necessary measures are taken with appropriate technical support to ensure that compliance before any certification of the new aircraft is provided. He says the premature concerns expressed by the Government of New Zealand has fed unfortunate series of superficial media reports that will only hurt Tonga to the extent. In the meantime, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister Sami Waipulu told Radio and Television Tonga News that the information released by New Zealand to media are nonsense. Waipulu says both New Zealand and the Tongan government have signed to the worthiness of all Chinese aircraft last year. Both the Prime Minister, Lord Ivano, and his Deputy Sami Waipulu confirmed the safety and worthiness of the MA-60 to operate domestically. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
There's a need for a financial report from government after every financial year. The concern was raised by a resident of Tonga Taiapa during the parliamentary visit of their representative to Parliament.
Some of the Tonga Taiapa residents have raised concern over the needs for the government to provide public information on its yearly expenditure. The concern was raised during the parliamentary visit of the Tongatapu People's Representative No. 1, Akilisi Pohiva, to his constituency during the weekend. Other issues raised the Tongatapu gathering involved a concern over the high cost of living, government's revenue collection, leakage of water from underground water pumps, and a problem caused by urbanization. Meanwhile, the parliamentarian of the constituency told the meeting that it's the government's role to monitor and take care of its development activities. Pohiva also advised that in order to achieve their needs, the people must work together with the government and the church. There are 240 registered voters of Tonga Taiapa, but only 7 of them have attended the meeting with their representative to Parliament, Akilisi Pohiva, last Friday evening. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
One of the main issues raised during the parliamentary visit to Hatafu, Ahau and Kanokupolo were the need for the foreshore due to the coastal erosion, the age for the retirement funds to decrease to 70, the shortcut road from Umutangata to Matahau, and the water supply. We'll join Linda Filiai with that report.
The several issues were raised during Isaac Eke's visit to his constituency last Friday night. It includes concern over the standard of tour site in the area, as well as beaches which attract tourists. One participant in the parliamentary meeting recommends the importance of looking after the historical site in the Western District due to the story behind it. The response from the MP says that they need to work together to put up a proposal towards this recommendation. That includes registering the significant site in the area under the authority of the town officer. Other issues of concerns include a special need to set up a siren in the area to warn the locals of any disaster, such as tsunami. They also request part of the multi-million Paanga grant from the government to growers for exporting their produce. However, the representative told the gathering that all issues of concerns will be raised in the House. Only 10 participants attended last Friday's meeting, with over 400 registered voters in the area. This meeting was held at Hatafu Free Wesleyan Church Hall. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
The Honourable Minister of Commerce, Tourism and Labour has completed his parliamentary visit to Vava'o Constituency 16. Our correspondent in Vava'o, Ludovico Tapueluelu, says one of the issues raised was a need for a market for the local produce. They also believe this council will help out bringing donors to fund development projects in these districts. Villagers in this constituency also raised all their basic needs. Meanwhile, a donation of computers was also distributed during this visit to villagers in this constituency, aiming to help boost education for youth. These computers, which was provided by Easy World Cargo through a request made by this representative to Parliament of Vava'o Constituency 16. Justice Charles Cato ordered the Crown to request the United States for information of 2 accused who have been convicted for grievous bodily harm and attempted armed robbery. The trio, Sosefo Mala, Senang Lau and Taufo Faleofa, were deported from the United States of America. They were convicted for the attack at Esco Motors gas station at Fatafehi Road on January 2011. The records of Mala and Faleofa from the United States are both wanted within 2 weeks by the judge before announcing the sentence. Meanwhile, Mala told the court that he was deported for smuggling of drugs, and according to Faleofa, the reason why he was sent back to Tonga because of selling cocaine. The prosecutor will work on the order from the court concerning the records of the accused from the United States. That's the local scene. Up next is the latest from around the region. The Australian Prime Minister is meeting his counterpart in Papua New Guinea today for talks expected to cover trade policy and immigration. Kevin Rudd is joined in Papua New Guinea by the Trade Minister Richard Miles and Immigration Minister Tony Burke. ABC has this report.
That will be raised, and the inclusion of Tony Burke, the Immigration Minister, at the last minute does add to that. I spoke to the Papua New Guinean Foreign Minister yesterday, Rembink Pato, and he said he's ready for it to be discussed, but he doesn't see any problem that can't be overcome working together. The beginning of construction of the permanent centre is set to begin very soon, so that is, I believe, something that Tony Burke will be wanting to find out about, as will Kevin Rudd. It is an issue that's very important from the Australian side, but also of some interest to Papua New Guinea as well.
The thing about a government visit to our nearest neighbour, Papua New Guinea, is that the Papua New Guinea Prime Minister will inevitably raise what's on his mind, and I have a very open mind to dealing with his set of challenges and ours, and obviously the ongoing implementation with existing immigration arrangements with Australia.
So yeah, the Manus Island Detention Centre is something that will be discussed in light of the fairly critical report from the United Nations High Commission for Refugees on Friday, which again said that the centre is harsh, the conditions there are harsh, and that the lack of information given to detainees is leaving them despondent and could, if not changed, lead to severe psychological harm.
The Australian government's decision to axe the carbon tax in favour of an emission trading scheme has brought a mixed reaction from mining and business groups.
Government, if re-elected, would bring forward the floating emissions trading price, so that would also leave Labor free to disentangle itself from the carbon tax labelling, which Julia Gillard surrendered when she announced this package, and has damaged Labor ever since. So Kevin Rudd's fighting on two fronts here. He wants to distance from Labor's legacy on this issue, notwithstanding his own history on this, but of course also fighting the opposition front and centre on one of their signature policies, and that's the broken promise or perceived broken promise over the carbon tax, which Julia Gillard was responsible for. Now, the opposition, we heard from Greg Hunt, will still try and prosecute this as a tax, but the fact is, once it is linked to the EU price, if the last few years in the EU carbon trading market are anything to go by, it will be significantly lower.
That's the Pacific News. Sports is up next with Fatai Fainga'a.
In sports, the New Zealand Rugby Union have confirmed that they are trying to negotiate Sonny Bill Williams' return to the 15-man game. Williams is one of the most coveted players across multiple goals, and the All Blacks has stated in the past that he would be open to a possible return to Union. Not a man to stay in one place for too long, Williams' future has been a hot topic despite being in just his first season back in the National Rugby League. With the 2015 Rugby World Cup in England not too far along on the horizon, Williams may be considering another switch, and the New Zealand Rugby Union is certainly open to having him back, with Chief Executive Steve Teal confirming that there have been talks with Williams' agent, Koda Nassar. Chiefs boss Dave Rennie admits he was watching plenty of rugby over the weekend as he plans his side's defence on their title. After guiding his side to a hard-fought 26-16 victory over the Blues in Auckland, he watched the Stormers' 30-13 win over the Bulls in Cape Town during the early hours of the morning in New Zealand. The latter result secured the Chiefs the top spot on the table, but Rennie knows that plenty of hard work lies ahead before his side returns to action in 2 weeks' time. He expects the Chiefs to host the winner of the playoff between the Crusaders and Reds in Christchurch, but is not ruling out any upsets at this stage of the competition. Although the Stormers' win over the Bulls has taken plenty of pressure off the Chiefs, Rennie's taken nothing for granted and revealed that his side will be giving their all in a bid to repeat their 2012 triumph. Team New Zealand claim another point of the expense of absent. Artemis racing today amid fears the struggling Swedish syndicate could be forced out of the America's Cup regatta altogether. Dean Parker's crew raced solo again today, where it was an incident-free blast as they chose to use the shorter course offered to them, keen to get the business done before a building wind could cancel proceedings. Emirates Team New Zealand saved the 5-leg 9.89 nautical mile course in 25 minutes, 56 seconds, reaching a top speed of 40.62 knots. The point took them closer to what appears to be an inevitable place in Louis Vuitton Cup final. Australia showed patience and composure to reverse an earlier loss and beat New Zealand 22-12 in the Women's Rugby League World Cup final at Headingley, Leeds. The Australians, beaten 14-6 by the Kiwi fans in pool play, constructed a polished 4 tries to free victory to wrest the title from the three-time champions. New Zealand coach Lini Tiani-Mani says Australia's win was built around a solid team effort. And that's sports news.
And now look at today's weather forecast. Situation and easterly wind flow prevails over Tonga. Forecast to midnight tomorrow for Tonga. Light easterly winds variable at times, mainly fine apart from cloudy periods or brief light showers. Marine weather bulletin: east winds 10 to 15 knots, slight to moderate seas. A moderate south to southeast swell over waters south of Tongatapu and Ewa. That's the weather forecast. Before we part, here's a final look at today's top stories. The baptism of the first-born child of Crown Prince Tubotoa Ulkalala and Princess Sinaitakala conducted yesterday. The Hatafut district is asking to allow them to register to be part of the tour sites for tourists. And Supreme Court ordered criminal records of deportees to be brought back from the United States of America. For more on these stories, you can call us directly on 23556 or 28812, or you can check out our website at www.tonga-broadcasting.net or our Facebook page on Radio Television Tonga. Thanks for watching. I am Galo Lainetong Lava. Have a pleasant evening.